Wong-Tam.
Sisters, 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 Stella and brothers, welcome, welcome back to City Hall, your City Hall. From last year's march to this year's march, we have been marching on, marching every single day, marching through the darkness, marching looking for the light. I see and I want to embrace every single one of you today. I envision a world where women are respected, valued, and promoted. All women, every single one. Indigenous and Black women, racialized women, and women of all ethnicities, religions, ages, shapes, sizes, and abilities. Women and trans women from the widest range of sexual orientations, gender identity, gender expression, women of all ages, all socioeconomic backgrounds coming together from every imaginable walk of life, marching together. I see you. I embrace you. Sisters, sisters, sisters. What does tomorrow and the future after that look like? When I envision the future, I see many things. I see love, lots and lots of love. I see hope, I see optimism, I see justice, and I see freedom. My future vision starts with true reconciliation. Respecting the resiliency and the courage of Indigenous people, especially women and girls. I envision what true healing looks like for Indigenous families who have lost their daughters, their sisters, their aunts, their mothers, and their grandmothers due to violence. I envision that when the murdered and missing Indigenous women's inquiry concludes, and it must conclude, Canadians from coast to coast will understand that violence against Indigenous communities are not individual random acts, but that violence and misogyny targeting Indigenous peoples and women is institutional and structural, upheld by the police, the courts, the governments, and the very racist laws such as the Indian Act. In our future Toronto, we will no longer have the most expensive childcare program in Canada, which punishes families rather than help them. In our future Toronto, the province fully caps the funding for childcare to no more than $10 a day, making it truly affordable and universally acceptable as called for by ACORN.
Yes!
$10 a day childcare. I envision a future brimming with pride, knowing that we fully funded the poverty reduction plan in Toronto, that we work day and night to eradicate poverty from our neighborhoods so that we can finally shed Toronto's shameful title, the shameful title of being the child poverty capital of Canada. I envision Toronto City Council working with our federal governments, our provincial governments, to build 25,000 units of new, deeply affordable housing every single year. homelessness, and the housing list of 90,000 families deep in Toronto is gone. In tomorrow's future, I envision no one denied timely access to shelter beds, to mental health services, addiction and harm reduction supports when we need them, when they need them, and where they need them. I envision 1,000 brand new permanent shelter beds being built in 2018. So we never repeat the fiasco of this winter, where we were unprepared for winter, where homeless individuals were left stranded and scrambling. That can never happen again. In my future city, Toronto residents will be properly served with exemplary transit, the very best in the world, measured in accessibility, service, and quality. I envision City Council prioritizing and building the reliable and connected and afforded transit that we need in this city, and not a $5 billion one-stop political subway to Scarborough. We will achieve these goals when decision-making in government is finally centered around the lived experiences of women and girls. We will obtain this vision when the Mayor and City Council enthusiastically embraces gender-responsive budgeting. When every single budgetary decision factors in the needs of women and girls, where they put a gender equity lens over all strategic policies, programs, and services to make sure women and girls are never left behind again. But you know as well as I know, because we were here last year, that this ain't gonna happen without us doing more work. I'm sure that you have heard that women who speak up can be nasty. Are there some nasty women here who want to speak up? Nasty women are here and they want to be heard in front of the House of Government. Nasty women and men, take out your phones. We're going to do something together. I know your hands are cold. I'll wait. You're going to have to take off your gloves because I'm going to give you a little assignment. We just finished marching, and I don't think everybody who works at City Hall marched with us today. And I'm sure I've got some councillor colleagues who are out there because they are always here for women. But for those who are not here, I need you to send them a message. Okay, so we're gonna type out pick your app, your favorite social media app. Dear Mayor John Tory and Toronto City Council. You got that? Dear Mayor John Tory and Toronto City Council. There's 50,000 of you. They are gonna see, you're gonna crash their sites. Women will vote in 2018. Some of you guys are really fast. Some of you guys not so much. Women will vote in 2018. We demand gender equality. Love. Hashtag Women's March Toronto. Hit the send button, please. And if you didn't have your smartphone with you, you know what you're gonna do as soon as you hook up when you get home, right? Toronto's future must include diverse political leadership, strong, progressive, feminist leaders, in 2018, we can decide on a new political future for Toronto, for Ontario. I hope our future is feminist. And to achieve this, we must march on. A future Toronto must be safe and free from violence, all forms of violence. Women and girls must be heard, must be seen, must be believed and supported when they tell us they've had that experience. We will march on to ensure that children can play safely in the streets without the fear of being struck by a vehicle. That's called Vision Zero, and there's a plan at the City of Toronto that's unfunded right now. It's also known as the Road Safety Plan, and I think our kids are worth it. We will march on to ensure that women and girls can walk the streets and go to school and go to work in this city free of unwanted advancements and harassment. We will march on to ensure that LGBT two-spirited kids like Stella, my dear Stella, will be free from bullying and violence in the schools and in the homes. We will march on so seniors can live their final years with dignity and care without any elder abuse. We will march on to ensure that people living with disabilities will have access to all accommodations and care when they need it and where they need it. We will march on to ensure that women and trans women will not have their lives killed and cut short due to violence. The tragic deaths of 5 women this week. 5 women were killed and murdered this week by spouses and male family members. Holly Hamilton, Elaine Bellevue, Baljit Bandi, Avtar Kaur, Jan Singh. We remember you and we think of you in our feminist future. Sisters, today's march cannot end here. Tomorrow's march cannot end here. The day after, it doesn't end. You know it, I know it. The organizers have brought us here once again, and they've done a fantastic job. I want to thank them. Thank them. Thank them. Moving forward, marching on, we will have to continue this work together. We will ensure that tomorrow and the future ahead is built upon our values, our vision, and our leadership. If they can't do it, we're going to do it for them. The future is feminist, and this tomorrow cannot come soon enough. This tomorrow must start today. We will march on. Say it with me. We will march on. Say it louder. We will march on. Say it so the mayor can hear you in his office. We will march on. Say it so the premier can hear you at Queen's Park. We will march on. Say it so the Prime Minister can hear you in Ottawa. We will march on. Say it one more time and say it to the 7 generations behind us and the 7 generations ahead of us, so they know that we are building upon their work, and so that the 7 generations in front of us will know that they will be building upon today's work. Say it with me one final time. We